Joining us, Senate Intelligence Committee Chairman Mark Warner from Virginia. Senator, thanks for being here.
Brett, thank you.
So this effort to cut off aid to an Israeli military unit accused of human rights abuses, Benjamin Netanyahu posting at a time when our soldiers are fighting the monsters of terror, the intention to impose a sanction on a unit in the IDF is the height of absurdity and a moral low. That's from the Prime Minister. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are that Israel is a strong ally, and we need to stand by Israel. We're going to do that later tonight when earlier today over 80% of the Senate voted in favor of the aid package that includes Ukraine, Israel, Taiwan, banning TikTok as well, or divesting TikTok, let me be clear.
And we'll talk about that in a sec.
Israel is stronger when it has allies. Remember just a week ago when, in a remarkable show, Israel, the United States shot down all the Iranian missiles. That was helped because the British, the French, the Jordanians, the Saudis all sided with Israel. And maintaining those alliances are more important than ever right now. And those alliances are frayed when we see some of the, frankly, excesses in terms of what happened in Gaza with, 34,000 people killed.
So we see these protests around the country. Columbia University, NYU, Yale, it's expanding. A lot of different schools all over the place. How do you read that? I mean, some of these protesters are saying we support Hamas. Some of them are saying they're pro-October 7th. Some of them are pretty anti-Semitic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's outrageous. People do have a right to protest. That is a First Amendment right in this country. But they don't have a right, as we've seen at some of these universities, to shut down the university. And if you break the law, as we saw at Columbia University, you ought to be held accountable.
Do you think that the administration has been strong enough, the president has been strong enough in his words or even his actions?
I think he has called out anti-Semitism. We're in a period of Passover right now. Now more than ever, we need to stand up against anti-Semitism.
25 Senate Republicans send a letter to the Attorney General and the Education Secretary, Cardona, saying President Biden issued a statement on Sunday purporting to condemn the outbreak of anti-Semitism. That statement was serious. It must be accompanied by immediate action from your departments. Rioting violates federal law. Violence or attempted violence against anyone because of their Jewish heritage violates federal law. So I guess I'm asking, should more be done?
I stand against anti-Semitism in any form. And I also believe, as we've seen on some of these protests, when they end up literally shutting down a university, I think those who break the law need to be held accountable.
You mentioned TikTok, and it's a part of this bill. It is a divestiture from the company tied to China, ByteDance. Mm-hmm. Is that fair to say? It's not a ban.
Absolutely. It is not a ban. It is saying that a enterprise that literally potentially collects 170 million Americans' data and has the potential to influence what you see in a way of foreign interference, I believe is a national security threat. And candidly, it was then President Trump in 2019 who first raised this issue. He was right then. I'm not sure he seems to have changed his view now.
Well, he does seem to have changed. He just sent out a message the other day saying, just so everyone knows, especially the young people, crooked Joe Biden is responsible for banning TikTok. He's the one pushing it to close and doing it to help his friends over at Facebook become richer and more dominant.
Brett, you don't hear me often saying Donald Trump was right. He was right in 2019 to raise the national security concerns. Nothing has changed in terms of the Chinese Communist Party's ability to influence this very popular social media platform. I believe it is not a ban. It will be a divestiture. We could have an American company own it. We could have a French company, a British company, a Brazilian company.
Just not the CCP.
But it's not the CCP. And the fact that, and look at the House, over 80% of the House voted for this divestiture.
But knowing what you know, it is a serious threat. When I tell my kids, really, it is.
It is a serious threat. And matter of fact, virtually every industrial country in the world has banned at least its government use. And most major news organizations have said to their journalists, don't get on TikTok because chances are the Chinese Communist Party and their agents may be surveilling you. That is a national security threat.
So after, as we expect, President Biden to sign this into law, how long do you think that process takes?
Well, one of the things that were changed from the House version was to give this divestiture up to a year. This is a complex deal. I mean, it's a very valuable piece of property. And literally about 40% of the investors are Americans. I hope they will roll over to some new controlling entity, and it could actually be those Americans who are already invested in TikTok.
You know, I love having the Intel Committee folks, and especially the chairman on, and you've come on a lot, and I always end with, what's keeping you up at night?
Well, one of the things that's kept me up at night for a long time is whether the United States was going to step up and do the right thing and stand by Ukraine in terms of pushing back against Vladimir Putin. I think that I'm going to rest a little easier. But I worry now, 6 months out from a national election, that we could see a level of foreign interference in our election. We've got enough disagreements amongst Americans. But because people know interference in our foreign elections is cheap by foreign adversaries, unfortunately, a lot of Americans believe conspiracy theories. And as we've talked before on this show, with artificial intelligence tools now, they can bring about the level of deep fake at a scale and speed that's been unprecedented. So I hope at the end of the day, with all our divisions, we can make sure that this election is decided by Americans and not by foreign influence. And that's one of the things that keeps me up.
Senator, we appreciate the time.
Thank you, Brett.